Carlee Russell, liar, liar, pants on fire. Taylor Schabusiness trial gets off to a quick start. A bad cop doing bad things. Rules for thee, but not for me. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, hit that little bell for notifications, and remember, you can listen to us anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Just type in Crime Talk with Scott Reich. All right, let's go ahead and get to the docket. Let's open the record for July 25th of 2023. Carlee Russell, liar, liar, pants on fire. Carlee Russell has revealed that she made up seeing a toddler on the side of an Alabama interstate and then made up being kidnapped as the police and the district attorney consider filing charges against her. Now, the 26-year-old nursing student sent a statement to police admitting she had been in the area of Hoover as hundreds of people desperately searched for her for 49 hours. Now, Russell had claimed that she was kidnapped on July 13th after she stopped to check on a toddler about 9:30 p.m. She turned up at her parents' house and told police that she had been abducted, spinning a somewhat elaborate story of fighting to get away for her freedom. Well, on Monday, Hoover Police Chief Nick Derez read a statement from Russell's lawyer in which she admitted she had invented the entire story and said that it was a hoax and it was a big mistake. No, a mistake is when you turn on the wrong street. This was a thought-out, elaborate plan for who knows what reason, attention, whatever. It doesn't matter. She lied. She should be prosecuted. Like I said, the prosecutors are still trying to decide if criminal charges should be filed. Seems like a no-brainer to me. And there's been no indication of any motive for the staged disappearance. And no explanation as to where she was for the 49 hours while she was gone. Now, Miss Russell stopped cooperating with police after returning home, but initially told police that a white man took her and that this white man had orange hair who appeared from the trees on the side of I-49 after she saw a baby boy walking around in a diaper along the side of the road. Well, last week, the police chief said that they had been unable to confirm Russell's story and wanted to speak to her to clarify these details. She refused to speak for the second interview, and police said they were scheduled to meet with Miss Russell on Monday, but her lawyer provided a statement and read it to the public. Her boyfriend, Thomas Simmons, had initially been among those frantically searching for her and expressed his relief when she turned up safe. But after Wednesday's press conference, he has erased all trace of her on social media. Russell's family are not believed to have been involved in this little elaborate scheme that she went through. And then on July 17th, the day after she returned to her parents' house, they recalled how they found Russell in a bad state. She fought for her life. Her father, Carlos, a vice president of underwriting at BBVA Bank. Russell left work at Woodhouse Spa in Birmingham, Alabama around 8:20 p.m. on July 13th after stealing a bathrobe and toilet paper. She then stopped to pick up food for her and her mother. Russell traveled towards Hoover and called 911 about 9:30 to report the missing child wandering on the side of Interstate 459. After calling 911, Russell reportedly called her sister-in-law to tell her she was going to check up on the child. The family member lost contact with her about 9:36 p.m., and the line remained open. Now, responding officers located Russell's abandoned car along with her cell phone, her purse, wig, and Apple Watch in the nearby area, but no sign of her or the alleged child. And the Hoover police said they've never received any other calls of someone else reporting that there was a missing child. 2 days later, Russell returned to her family's home alone. Now, the police said on Monday it seemed there was a significant degree of planning in this whole thing. You think? Like, who picked her up? Where'd she go? Well, the police are unable to say how much of the 49-hour search operation cost as of yet, but basically they're trying to decide whether Carlee should have to pay for it. The police noted that large numbers of volunteers, uniformed officers, and canines searched for Miss Russell for days with helicopter support, And let's face it, helicopter jet fuel, it's expensive. The police say they don't have a dollar figure yet, but they're certainly working on getting one, and not only ours, but the other agencies that gave us a lot of support, the police have stated. Oh, and by the way, on top of losing her career as a nursing student, her boyfriend's dumped her. She's forever shamed as being a liar. She also got fired, probably for stealing that robe and the toilet paper. Anyway, let me know. I think she needs to be charged. Restitution should be big, and at minimum, charge her with stealing the bathrobe and the toilet paper from her employer, just so something sticks on her record. Next, the Taylor Schabusiness trial. Well, they're jumping right into this case. And body-worn camera footage of when police found a dead man's head in a bucket as the murder and necrophilia trial of Taylor Denise Schabusiness began on Monday. Now, Shad Thyron was killed and dismembered in his mother's basement back in February of 2022, and the state alleges that the 25-year-old defendant took advantage of him during some rough sex and choked him to death with a chain before later having sex with his corpse and allegedly violating the dead man's body and then chopping him up into several pieces. At least two of Thyron's body parts, his head and what police believe to be basically his male organ, were left for his mother and her boyfriend to find. Now, in a 911 call, Hendricks tells a dispatcher that his girlfriend swears that she found the severed head of her son in the basement. And in the body-worn camera footage shown in court, in a very hushed tones, there's mentioned something about a severed head to a responding member of the Green Bay Police Department. One of the officers stays with the couple while the other makes his way down the stairs into the basement of the house. After looking inside the bucket, the officers appear to call his partner over to take a look. The second officer responds with some shock and disgust. The first officer continues to look around the basement for several minutes, calling for multiple units of backup, at least twice. Quote, "If we could get some more units here sooner rather than later, that'd be really appreciated," the officer says in the video. "We've got quite a bit of blood down here." Now, the criminal complaint against Schabusiness filed in Brown County goes into detail about what responding officers found that night. And Thyron's head had been severed from his neck, and there was visual evidence of strangulation inside the bucket. Besides the head was the male organ, along with body fluids and several knives. Body parts were found in the basement in plastic shopping bags. Knives, including a carving knife and a bread knife, were found at the scene, according to the police. The victim's upper torso was found in a storage tote, along with several internal organs. After being arrested, the defendant allegedly admitted to blacking out while smoking methamphetamine and later allegedly admitted to opportunistic killing of Thyron during typically rough sex the two lifelong friends frequently engaged in together. Schabusiness said that she and Thyron would often use chains and strangulation techniques when they had sex. The chains were linked silver and looked like dog choke collars, and she said that this latest time they had sex, she just went crazy, referring to strangling him. After what the defendant explained as a period of choking that lasted some 3 to 5 minutes, Thyron eventually died, and she said she played with his body for 2 to 3 hours. Prosecutors have charged her with murder in the first degree, mutilating a corpse, a sexual assault in the third degree. Now, before the trial, her attorneys for Schabusiness had a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity entered by her former attorney, who was eventually allowed to withdraw from the case because she attacked him in court. That's an interesting video. And in a defense motion, Schabusiness' attorney argued that the sexual assault charge needs to be dropped because such a crime was factually and legally impossible due to Mr. Thyron already being dead. Quote, "The defense asserts and argues that it would be unlikely and almost impossible for any sexual assault to occur with how the dismembered body was found by law enforcement. The appendage was not attached to the body when it was found, and the appendage was unable to function due to its condition. Therefore, throw out the charge." I kind of agree on that one, but you got to admit, it's just weird. Next on the docket, bad cop doing bad things. Now, officials with Bexar County, And I say that because it's spelled Bexar, but it's pronounced bear. I remember this from some other case that we had, and I was promptly corrected as to its pronunciation. So Bexar, Bexar, is pronounced bear, just so we're all clear. Anyway, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office say that they've arrested one of their own on felony charges of sexually abusing a child victim. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office said Monday that Marcus Alexander turned himself in on a warrant for indecency with a child, which is a second-degree felony in Texas. The charge stems from a Sunday incident, apparently, when the Bexar County Sheriff's Office say deputies were called to a home in far west Bexar County for an outcry of an alleged sexual abuse that reportedly happened back in June. When the deputies arrived to the home, they were notified by the reporting person that Alexander had allegedly touched the juvenile inappropriately and then had taken several inappropriate photographs of the juvenile and kept those photos on his phone. Now, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office additionally said that when the reporting person confronted Alexander about the photos on Saturday, July 22nd of 2023, it is reported that he became evasive and denied having any photos whatsoever. Alexander was immediately placed on unpaid leave, his weapon and credentials confiscated while he was served with a proposed termination, pending the outcome of the investigation. He was detained and taken in for questioning, and investigators got enough evidence to file a warrant for his arrest. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office is conducting multiple internal investigations into the incident, and authorities have not yet said how Alexander knew the child victim or if the alleged abuse happened while Alexander was acting as a law enforcement officer. Obviously, that would change everything because then the city would have to write a big check. Now, these allegations are beyond infuriating, said Sheriff Javier Salazar. As sheriff, my number one priority is the welfare of young victims and this family. As for the deputy, criminal administrative penalties will be swift and severe. I'm extremely grateful to our child safe investigators and public integrity unit for acting quickly on taking this suspect into custody. Now, former Officer Alexander has been with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office since July of 2022 and was most recently assigned to the West Patrol. Bad cop. Not good. Listen, if you're in public office, you're there to serve and protect. You're held to a higher standard. You have to do it better than cleaner than everybody else. And when you get in trouble, guess what? You got to be whacked harder to show everybody that this is what happens to people when they break the rules like that. Which kind of brings us to a nice segue to our next story. A bad judge. Rules for thee, but not for me. We've all heard that. Once again, has to do with those in positions of authority making rules for others that don't apply to themselves. So get this. A judge overseeing a murder trial of a man accused of beating a toddler to death is facing an ethics investigation for allegedly using her cell phone to check Facebook while witnesses, including the defendant himself, were on the witness stand. Now, the Lincoln County, Oklahoma District Court judge, a woman by the name of Tracy Soderstrom, is seen thumbing through her phone for stretches of minutes at a time on overhead courtroom security footage, and that was first published by the Oklahoma newspaper. Now, the video was reportedly leaked to the newspaper, clearly by some staff that did not like the judge, and ultimately it made its way here. At the time, Judge Soderstrom was overseeing the trial of a guy by the name of Christian Tyler Martizal, who was accused of murdering 2-year-old Braxton Danker, the son of Martizal's girlfriend, Judith Cheyenne Danker, in 2018. Now, on the video published by the Oklahoman shows that Soderman repeatedly and for minutes at a time looked down at her phone, scrolling and responding to text messages over the course of about 50 minutes while the defendant was on the stand. The Martizal trial was Soderstrom's first after having been elected to the bench for a 4-year term back in November of 2022. At the start of the trial, Soderstrom told jurors to turn off all electronic devices so they could concentrate on the evidence without interruption. Now, the district attorney, an elected politician looking for a shot to make headlines himself, stated, "It is both shocking and disappointing. Jurors are barred from using cell phones in the courtroom during trials because we expect them to give their full time and attention to the evidence being presented. I would expect and hope the court would hold itself to the same standard required of the judges, regardless of the type of case. Now, I kind of agree with the prosecuting attorney here, but let's face it, this is not the first time, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the last. Now, I haven't seen judges literally scrolling on their Facebook, but I've seen judges that look like they are preoccupied doing other things. Because remember, their caseload doesn't stop when they're in trial. And if it's kind of a routine witness, they're listening out of one ear and working on their administrative paperwork that they have to do for other cases. So, am I particularly offended? No. Do I think this was the first time? No. Do I think it'll be the last? No. Do I think the judges will want to maybe cut off the security cameras right over their bench? Probably, but it shouldn't happen. But this is, once again, why we need cameras in the courtroom, ladies and gentlemen. We need to see how people are performing, judges alike, just like the prosecutors, just like the defense attorneys. Let's see what everybody's doing. After all, it is a public courtroom. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. And then finally today, our dumb criminal of the day. A 19-year-old man in Missouri allegedly had a plan to get his friend off work, and in one way, it was a success. The Ford assembly plant in Claycomo near Kansas City was evacuated, and production was halted Tuesday night after a caller said they were barricaded in a second-floor bathroom with a firearm and that they had explosives. It worked. However, the cost to the Independence resident, Zachariah Peterson, could be up to 7 years in prison and a $10,000 fine if he's found guilty of making terroristic threats. Now, police say dozens of officers responded to the call and spent 6 hours searching the enormously large facility. Some 2,200 workers were evacuated from the building, and the Clay County prosecuting attorney, Zachary Thompson, said Peterson made the swatting call to get his friend off work. Though there's no immediate sign the friend knew of the plan. And when someone makes a call like that, they pull law enforcement officers away from their duties, keeping their communities safe. Kind of like our first story, isn't it? That's right. They should be charged. Anyway, the prosecutor says in Clay County, we treat this type of crime with seriousness it deserves. He praised the police for heroically entering the plant, for not knowing what was there. Of course, there wasn't anything there, but they went in because Peterson claimed that he had an AK-47 and 3 spare magazines and a pound of C4 strapped to his chest. Police say Peterson admitted to investigators that he had downloaded an app to conceal his phone number. He knew what C4 was from playing Call of Duty. The hoax created a huge strain on law enforcement, not to mention the financial losses that Ford suffered by shutting down their production facility. Okay, what can you say? Sir, you are a dumb criminal of the day, and there's no reason given as to why he wanted his friend to get off work. Couldn't he have just waited till the next day? I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. All right, that's all we have for you today. Please join us tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, for our live program. We'll be talking about what you want to talk about, taking your questions, taking your calls. We'll see you tonight, 6 p.m.